Well, good morning. Welcome back to Planet Doug Behind the Scenes for Saturday. I thought it was Sunday actually, but no, Saturday, August 5th, 2023. It's just about 8 o'clock in the morning. And this morning I wasn't going to record a behind the scenes video. I have things I want to do today and I was just going to get started with my day. But then I thought, why not? I always have thoughts on my mind, and while I enjoy a cup of coffee, I really enjoy recording videos like this. And I think friends of mine appreciate it as well because it gives me an outlet for all the trivia and stuff I'm thinking about, and I don't end up bothering them. It's like a friend of mine in Kuala Lumpur, Daryl from the Wander Eats YouTube channel. I'll be sitting around, I'll have some thought about GoPro or the new DJI Action 4 or this or that, some other thing. I hop onto WhatsApp and I just start bombarding him with messages, all the things I'm thinking about. And if I have a behind the scenes video, it will spare these friends of mine from a torrent of thoughts and messages heading their way. I can record my thoughts here instead and spare them the the hassle. And I was thinking of Daryl in particular because I noticed the thumbnail for his most recent video. He posted a highlight reel of the best of Sapa. He recently went to Sapa, the mountainous town in Vietnam, just north of Hanoi. And he put together a video, like highlight clips of his trip, and he's promising us 8 full videos of his experiences in Sapa. And this video called Highlights of Beautiful Sapa Road Trip 2023. And it's sort of like a short, 3-minute video about all the best of his experiences at Sapa. But what caught my eye was on the thumbnail he wrote, like the words on the thumbnail, "I can't believe this is Vietnam." And that made me smile because, I've talked to Daryl many times about this. I find it so funny that so many videos about Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur, people use this title. I can't believe this is Malaysia. I'm shocked by Kuala Lumpur. I'm amazed. Kuala Lumpur blew my mind. These are all very, very common video titles. And I mean, they're common because they're popular. If someone says, "Oh, I can't believe it," it makes you want to click on the video. But I always end up thinking about, well, what is it that they can't believe? And it feels like it's a little bit of a double-edged compliment. You know what I mean? It's like they go to Kuala Lumpur and they find a modern, bustling city of skyscrapers, and then every vlogger reacts the same way, like they're shocked. So if they're shocked by the newness and the urban quality and the skyscrapers and essentially the wealth of Kuala Lumpur, what was it they were expecting, right? So if they're shocked by this, what were their expectations? So it was sort of like you can conclude that they were expecting a more agrarian, like farming villages and maybe bullock carts trundling through the downtown core or something. So then they're so surprised to find, the skyscrapers of KL. But of course, that wasn't Daryl's reaction to Sapa or Vietnam. He knew a lot about the place before he went there, of course. It's a very popular place, and he did a lot of research into it. So his title, "I can't believe this is Vietnam," kind of, made me smile. So I was going to hop on WhatsApp and, chat with Daryl about this. And I did send him one message telling him that his video thumbnail made me smile, gave me a good laugh early in the morning. But then I had all kinds of other thoughts, and I was going to bombard him with those thoughts. And I thought, let's fire up my Olympus, fire up my kettle, have a cup of coffee, and record a behind-the-scenes video. One kind of cool thing about this morning is I have a little bit of internet connection, which is very rare. I've got this, where is it? Oh, okay. I've got this phone over here. This has my SIM card in it. and occasionally it will connect to the internet, and then I set up a mobile hotspot very quickly. It's sort of like a limited resource now. Like if you're in a village where there isn't much water and there's a big rainstorm, you rush outside and put up all your buckets and gather as much rain as you can while it's available. So when I have an internet connection, I just like go crazy. So I'm updating all of my podcasts, because while I'm connected, I can download all my new podcasts, hop onto YouTube, watch a couple of videos, and sort of get caught up. I haven't been able to engage with Planet Doug very much, like replying to comments and things like that, just because I never have internet connection here. So anyway, yeah, as soon as I realized I was connected, I watched a couple of videos, and one of them amused me. It was from Casey, a Camera Conspiracies channel. He's a young Canadian fellow named Casey. I've been following him forever. I really enjoy his videos. They're very funny. He has his own unique style and personality. But he told a very funny story. He was talking about the new DJI Action 4. And he was at a camera store recently, Aiden, it's probably in Toronto, Aiden Camera. And the guy at the camera store introduced him to a rep from DJI, who just happened to be in the store that day. So Casey, talked to the guys, and the guy knew Casey and knew his channel. They exchanged compliments. Hey, I love DJI cameras. Oh, I love your channel, and hey, we should work together. And then basically, Casey made a connection with a guy at DJI and basically said, yeah, next time you have, you're coming out with the Pocket 3, the DJI Action 4, I'd love to get an advanced copy like all the other major YouTubers and review the camera. And the guy said, yeah, absolutely, let's do that. Let's work together. And it's kind of a big deal for Casey, because I don't think he's not known as one of the guys that the camera companies work with closely, mainly because of his irreverent style. You never quite know what he's going to say, and his comedy is a bit off the wall. And he's very, very critical of all cameras. So even if, Nikon, whoever releases a new camera that everybody is raving about, you can count on Camera Conspiracies to look for, okay, what's wrong with this camera? That's the angle that he takes. It's one of the reasons I enjoy his channel, because he'll say things that other people won't say. Like even here, he's talking about the DJI Action 4, and he's like, well, where's the 3.5 millimeter microphone jack? Where is it? He will talk about these things that I've been raving about for years, about how I wish GoPro, DJI, anybody would add a simple microphone, like a 3.5 millimeter jack, into the camera body. Instead, they give you all these giant media mods and dongles and things you have to attach, and Casey will criticize cameras for that. He says it like it is, So I don't think when the camera companies are looking for YouTubers to send their products to, the first name that pops into their head isn't Camera Conspiracies. And he's also not one of the bigger channels out there. He's big enough, but he's not one of the biggest either. Anyway, he made this connection, and then he got an email from DJI that says, hey, we've got a new product coming out. Would you like to review it for us? And then Casey's like, yes, I'm in the big leagues now. But it turns out they wanted him to review the drone. I forget the name of it. They just released a new drone, which has 2 cameras built into it. It's a kind of a big deal. Everybody's pretty excited about it. And then Casey wrote back and said, I'm not a drone guy. I'm not interested in drones. I don't use drones. I don't know anything about drones. And he basically turned them down and was really disappointed that the product was not an action camera, because he is a camera channel. He's not a drone channel. And he basically turned them down. And then out of nowhere, he went online, and suddenly Potato Jet and every other big camera YouTuber was reviewing the DJI Action 4, which came out of nowhere and surprised everybody. So Casey's like, what happened? What about happened with me? It's like, we were talking about me reviewing action cameras for DJI, and then they tried to send me a drone. I said no, and now out of, they forgot about me, basically. And then he wrote back, he wrote to DJI, and the guy basically said that. He says, oh, I just forgot, which, who knows? I'm thinking if I were Casey and DJI offered to send me a drone to review, okay, I'm not a drone guy either, but I'm reviewing it. I'm like, yes, absolutely, send me that drone and I'll put it through its paces and I'll learn about it and I'll fly it and I'll review it. So it feels like Casey should have said yes. I don't know why he said no. Maybe, yeah, I guess he's busy. He makes a lot of videos for his camera channel, and he also has like a food channel, Vegetable Conspiracies, I think it's called now. And he's busy. He makes a lot of videos and has a couple of different channels that he maintains. So maybe that's why he said, well, I have to learn how to fly a drone. I don't know anything about drones. It's not my specialty. So he turned them down. But then I ended up wondering whether that was a mistake. That was his getting his foot in the door with DJI. And then now that he said no to the drone, they totally ignored him when it came to the action camera, which is what he really wanted to review. So, and overall, he went on to talk about the Action 4. He doesn't have one because they didn't send him one, but he did talk about it based on watching other reviews. And I think he was kind of disappointed in it overall. Maybe this is why DJI didn't send it to him, because all the other YouTubers that they sent the camera to were just going nuts about the big sensor. We're just like raving about the new sensor, bigger sensor, better low light performance. Very, very positive reviews overall. And then Casey was kind of like, well, okay, bigger sensor, but what else you got? And then he went over the new camera and he's like, well, there isn't much else there. I mean, new sensor, but nothing else really to talk about. And he was basically saying that the release kind of puzzled him because it seemed like the Action 4 was designed to compete with the Hero 11. Like it one-ups the GoPro Hero 11 by a little bit. But they're doing that in August, 1 month before GoPro was about to release the Hero 12. So he's like, it feels like a bit of a weird release date and a weird camera to release, because GoPro's going to leapfrog the Action 4 in 1 month. So what was the point of coming out with it now? Anyway, so he was talking about a fair number of critical things. And I almost stood up and cheered when he talked about the missing 3.5 millimeter jack. Because that's one thing too, all these YouTuber reviewers, when they review the Action 4 or the Action 3, they talk about how it's so amazing because you can plug in a USB-C microphone directly into it. And DJI makes their own microphone package, which has the receiver, 2 microphone transmitters, and a charging case. It's a nice little package. And they talk about, oh, wow, this is so much better than a GoPro because you can plug in a USB-C microphone. But when they take that receiver, the DJI microphone receiver, and plug it into the USB-C port, it looks and feels just horrible. I mean, it's just a big block dangling off the side of the camera. It looks weird. It looks out of place. It's like a big thing hanging off the camera. It doesn't look firmly like it's in place. It's just, the whole design is just so weird. And I wouldn't want to mount a camera receiver, wireless receiver like that. It just looks, it looks like it doesn't fit. It looks like it's going to fall off or something. I don't see it as any kind of an advantage over a dongle. If you have to use a dongle to attach a wireless receiver. I don't know. No one ever criticizes it, but every time they show it, my reaction is like, ooh, I don't like that. Like, is that how you're supposed to plug it in? It's just like, that doesn't seem like any advantage to me at all. But anyway, as I said, Casey is willing to criticize things where other YouTubers don't, especially the ones that get the cameras in advance as part of a DJI promotion. Obviously, they're expected to say good things about it. And I noticed this time around a lot of the YouTube reviewers started their videos the same way. They would, like David Manning said this very clearly. He basically came right out and says, okay, this is a promotional video. You know, DJI is essentially paying me to promote the camera. So what this video is, I'm going to be discussing the features of the camera. I'm going to describe the camera, but I'm not going to be reviewing it. So they make it very clear that this is not a critical review of the camera. This is an announcement video, and DJI is sponsoring this video. So it's like a commercial for the camera. And a lot of the YouTubers said that right up front. And then they says, okay, this is going to be me talking about all the new features, and then later on I'm going to do a review of the camera where I'm going to be testing it and actually taking a critical look at it. So they make a distinction between those two videos. But since Casey was not given a chance to do a promotional video, he just dove straight into his critical review based on the list of features. So yeah, that was pretty funny. And all of these thoughts I might have put into a message to Daryl, you know, and bothered him over breakfast. So instead I can bother anyone out there who's watching this video. I can get the thoughts out of my head behind the scenes. And since I had internet access this morning, I also watched the newest video from Itchy Boots. She was recently posting all these videos, very dramatic ones, of going through Liberia, that muddy road, and then burning out, basically tearing her clutch to pieces, and then having to put her motorcycle in the back of a pickup truck to drive hundreds of kilometers to get to Abidjan in the Ivory Coast, where she could have her motorcycle repaired. And I think her video of just getting her motorbike repaired is over 1 million views by now. You know, it's like, wow. It's quite something. But anyway, her motorcycle is back on the road. It has been repaired as far as she can tell. And the new video is about her riding from Abidjan, the capital of Ivory Coast, crossing the border into Ghana, and then she had in advance picked out this special place where she could stay. It was like a floating village off the coast of Ghana. I think it's off the coast. It might be in a lake, but I think it's in the ocean. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention, to be honest. But she took a boat out to this village, this floating village, and you have a chance to stay in a very simple room that's part of this village. And so she highlighted that in her video. It's quite interesting to go out there. But what I found interesting was more about the logistics and the decision to do this, because at this point she had basically seen nothing of the Ivory Coast, because she had plans to ride her motorcycle through part of northern Ivory Coast and then down to Abidjan and deal with money and get new visas and get organized and then ride and cross into Ghana and do all this. But because her motorcycle broke down and she went straight to Abidjan, she's basically skipping all of that. So she's not really going to see anything of the Ivory Coast. And she heard from people that in the north it gets quite dangerous, because then you're getting into borders with countries where they have some guerrilla activity and they're fighting separatist movements and terrorist groups. And people told her that it wasn't safe to go to northern Ivory Coast. So she took all that into consideration and thought, let's just head straight for the border, cross into Ghana, and go to this village. And at the border crossing, it was interesting that all the men that she was dealing with, there's all these men there that were, changing money, selling SIM cards, making a living by doing all these things for travelers. All of them that she encountered, that she worked with, were from Niger. And of course, they told her that, Niger, the thumbnail for her video and the title was all about what these guys told her, which is, don't go to Niger. They will kill you fast, is what they said. That's how she quoted them as saying that. And they did say that in the video. they will kill you fast in Niger. And they basically said all of the countries with a French colonial background, like Mali, Niger, I think Burkina Faso, all these places, they said all those countries are very dangerous because of the terrorist groups and all these things. And so you don't go there. But Ghana is safe. But don't go to Niger. And that's interesting because they just had a coup, right, in Niger. The military. I read a couple of articles about it this morning. I don't know any of the details, but a typical coup in West Africa happens all the time. Someone in the military got fed up with the government and launched a coup and took everybody prisoner. And so it's a big story going on right now. The coup, military coup in Niger, and what's going to happen. It's a crazy part of the world, but I'm pretty sure that Itchy Boots had no plans to go to Niger anyway. I mean, it's way up to the north, it's central Africa. And I'm assuming she's just going to stay closer to the coast and go through places, like Ivory Coast, Ghana, Benin, Togo. And she wouldn't have any plans to go up into Niger anyway. I think even before the coup, she would know it was a dangerous place to go. A high probability of getting kidnapped and held for ransom by Boko Haram and, the terrorist groups up there. So, she's sort of in the thick of it. And I'm sure when she's talking to local people now, everybody is going to be warning her of the dangers and don't go to Niger, the military coup. I'm sure everybody there is talking about it right now. Of course, we don't know how old these videos are. They're weeks old at least, maybe a month old. So it's quite possible that, when the coup took place, I think the coup was on July 26th. Itchy Boots would have been way in another part of it. She would have been way past Niger anyway. So, but who knows? But according to her video, like right now, she's in Ghana and Niger is, just on the border to the north. So interesting life for Itchy Boots. Planet Doug troubles. At least I don't have any military coups to worry about that I'm aware of, but I have typical Planet Doug problems. I've been going off on all these day trips on the scooter. I went to Lake Maninjau and I went to this village and I went to Harao Valley, and I have plans for more day trips today. I think I'm going to head out on the scooter again. But I haven't been able to edit any of these videos because I've just been doing this day after day after day and amassing all this video. And I started listening to it a little bit more carefully, and it turns out the audio is all screwed up. I have, a Rode Wireless Go system, which are, these things here. And I have one here that I'm using, receiver, microphone, transmitter. That's what I mount on my GoPro. And I have to do it with one of these, a media mod, because the media mod has the microphone jack, the input jack, as Casey from Camera Conspiracies was raving about, and which I rave about nonstop. The camera itself, the GoPro, there's no microphone jack. You can't plug a microphone into it. It drives me crazy. So you got to take your GoPro, and then you've got to, insert it into the media mod, and then you've got to take your microphone transmitter, mount it on there, and then you have to take your cable. This comes with the Rode Wireless Go, and plug it into the microphone, and then plug it into the media mod. So that's how you record audio with the GoPro. It's a mess, but it works. And that's what I've been doing, and I've been doing this for ages. I've been doing this for a long, long time and never had any trouble with it, really. And yet all the video that I've shot the last few days on the scooter, it's all distorted. It has this, crackling, distorted sound to it. And that just depressed me so much. It's like, oh, for Pete's sake, now what? What is this problem? Because you're essentially dealing with 4 different failure points, right? So the audio is bad, but why? Like, what is causing the problem? Basically, it could be the microphone transmitter. So this could be broken or defective. The Rode could be causing the problem. Could be the cable. It could be the GoPro. It could be the media mod. Like, which of these 4 items is causing the problem? And the only way to figure that out is to do yet another series of tests. I'm going to have to put all this together and record audio, many, many, many times, and then change the cable, test the receiver. I'm going to have to switch all of these out and use them with different cameras and try to isolate the problem. So which of these things is causing the problem? And to figure that out, I'm going to have to do a whole series of audio tests. And I'm like, oh, for Pete's sake, I don't want to spend a day doing more audio tests, It's like, there's no end to these sorts of technological problems. I suspect it's the media mod, mainly because I hate the media mod so much. And I think that's causing the problem. Either the internal electronics or the connection here is loose. And then if you're bouncing up and down on the scooter, this could cause a crackling sound or a distortion. I think it's the media mod. But the only way I'll know for sure is to do testing using everything else, but not using the media mod. So the old system was using this. This is the GoPro mic adapter, and it can plug into the USB-C port on the GoPro. So there's the dongle. That's how you used to do it. And then in order to do this, now you have to somehow mount the microphone on here, and you have to get another cage. This is the Ulanzi cage. So in order to use the mic adapter, you don't use the media mod, obviously, and then you put the GoPro inside this cage, so then you can put the mic adapter down here, and it's a whole other system. So basically, today I think I'm going to use this, go back to the mic adapter, and then I'm going to record video today using this with the Rode Wireless Go as before, and then see if I get that crackling sound. If I don't, it probably means the media mod is the problem. All right, so we'll see. I think I'm going to use this today because I'm fed up with the media mod in general. This is the one advantage of the media mod, is that when you plug in a microphone through the media mod, you get an audio signal on the screen of the GoPro. You can actually see the levels there. So the microphone is connected. But with the mic adapter, you don't get that. So the only way to know is to make a test recording, test, play the video back, and then listen to it. Okay, the microphone is working. But even then, you're never 100% confident that the microphone is working because you can never see the audio signal, going up and down. You can't see the levels. So that's the one advantage of the media mod. But who knows? So that is what I am dealing with on Planet Doug right now. My technology problems, which never seem to end. And I just looked outside the window, and the weather looks nice. So my plan, I should be editing video all day because I have such a backlog of videos to work with. But I think I'm just going to go out today and shoot more video, add it to the backlog. I have the scooter. Sunny weather, got to go somewhere. It would be a shame to waste the opportunity. And I was thinking of going to a couple of different places. There's a house here. It's kind of a house and museum that was where a very famous Indonesian politician, a historical figure, was born. He was born and grew up in Bukittinggi. Back then it was called Fort de Kock. But then they changed the name to Bukittinggi. So he was actually born in Fort de Kock, but, I'll just call it Bukittinggi because that's what the place is called today. So he was born there, and his house kind of burned down a couple of times, but it has been rebuilt exactly as it was originally, and they turned it into a museum of his life, Bung Hatta, Mohammed Hatta. And he was deeply involved in the independence movement of Indonesia, and in fact, he was the first vice president of Indonesia when it declared independence from the Netherlands. And he was a key figure in the whole independence movement. The things that I've heard about him and his life are usually very, very simple. You end up with this feeling like he was like a fighter against the Dutch colonizers and led the resistance and then won and achieved independence from Indonesia, which, I mean, technically is true. But then, like this morning, because I have internet, I read through his entire life story on Wikipedia. And then when you read the actual process of how Indonesia became independent from the Netherlands, you know, went from being a colony of the Netherlands to an independent republic, it's a complicated procedure that went on over years and years and years and years and years. There are so many stages, so many attempts, so many, yeah, it just went on. And if you tell the actual story, it's so complicated, it would take you hours to tell it all. So it's not such a straightforward story. Also because you have the Japanese occupation there. You know, World War II was sort of the thing that kick-started it all, because, you know, the Japanese defeated the Dutch first, right? So the Japanese came in during World War II, defeated the Dutch, kicked them out of the country, and the Japanese essentially took control of the islands of Indonesia. And then, of course, after World War II, Japan surrendered, and that was the opportunity for Indonesian nationalists like Muhammad Hatta to get busy and, like, well, you know, they're in between rulers. You know, the Dutch got kicked out, the Japanese surrendered, so now, you know, it's our time to declare independence. And then, though oddly enough, not oddly enough, you saw this taking place all over the world, you know, with independence in Africa and basically colonies all around the world. The European colonizers were sort of kicked out during World War II, and then after World War II, they all tried to come back. So, of course, after World War II, the Japanese surrendered, and then the Dutch sent forces back to Indonesia to basically assert control again. And then you ended up with a situation with the local nationalists working towards independence, and now they're dealing with the Dutch coming back and trying to take over again. And so it's a very complicated situation. It isn't as simple as a hero declaring independence, giving a speech, and then it's all done. There's just like endless meetings and political parties being formed and disbanded and new parties, and now you're the chairman of this party, and then now you're the vice president of this, and conferences, like international conferences, going overseas and sitting down with the Dutch, declaring, like putting together a big document that they all agreed on, and then just before they sign it, you know, something went wrong and the whole thing fell apart, and then they're back to arguing and fighting and being arrested. You know, the independence movement leaders were all being arrested by the Dutch and being thrown in prison, and being like Sukarno and Bung Hatta from Bukittinggi. They were working together, or sometimes working together, sometimes fighting each other, but they were the two main figures, I think, along with a third guy whose name I can't pronounce. And the three of them seem to be working together at times, different political parties. And Sukarno, who became the first president of independent Indonesia, you know, and Hatta was the first vice president. But Sukarno was arrested on multiple occasions, and he was sent into exile on remote islands in Indonesia by the Dutch and held in prison there. But then he would be released again, and Hatta would be arrested, then released, then arrested again. I mean, it was a long, ongoing, very complex process that perhaps is difficult to take all of that and make it fit into a simple narrative, is what I'm saying. But it's a very interesting story to read. A lot in there that I didn't know. For example, yeah, I won't even go into it because it's just way too much. But I thought it'd be interesting to drop by the house, which is now a museum. I'm sure it's open today. And if I had my bicycle, you know, it's a big event. I got to ride all the way into Bukittinggi and then all the way back uphill. But with the scooter, I can just zip down and arrive there nice and fresh and experience the museum. And then after that, I might go to a restaurant for lunch, which is about an hour away by scooter, but it looks like a really beautiful place. I don't think it opens until 1 or 2 in the afternoon, so hopefully the weather stays nice. So I'm thinking of going to the museum, you know, the house where Muhammad Hatta was born and grew up. Find out some interesting things when I'm there, and then perhaps go up there for lunch. And that might be my whole day today. We'll see. And I think I'm going to end this behind the scenes video here. As always, I have a ton of other things I can think about, but I think that's it for now. And yeah, audio troubles. I might do a quick test here before I head out and then see if I can figure out what's causing the problem with my audio. Yeah. All right. That's it. And wherever you are, stay safe, stay happy, get yourself a scooter. Makes life better. It really does. I'll see you in the next video.